So I thought today we'd take a look at this SignsTek, SIGNSTEK original EEPROM programmer. I picked this up on Amazon a couple days ago. It came in an outer wrap, and then this bag was sealed. This bag's got this little decal here on it, made in China, etc., etc. And kind of take a look at how it arrived and give some initial impressions. So let's get everything out of the bag here. And it's pretty close to how it was originally packaged coming to me. It was all loose inside of this outer bag. There was this bag here with stuff plugged all over in it. This bag, a little box here of apparently adapter modules I actually need to assemble. There was a couple of adapter modules in this bag that I think ended up over here, or in this box that ended up in this bag. The unit itself, get this in the light so hopefully it'll show up. 40-pin universal programmer. It's got about 15,000 devices it supports. I'm confused by the checkbox on the side of the box. This is not supposed to be... This is supposed to be the TL866 Plus. It better be the Plus or I will be returning it, since that's what I paid for. No, it's the wrong model. TL866A. Already hit a problem here. This is not what I paid for. I believe the A is the old model. Very disappointed by that. Rather, it's reuse of packaging, and it's TL866 Plus. It's definitely what I paid for. There were several warnings about cloned 862A or 866As. This would be the earliest model if that's what this really is. I looked at their photos of the clone stuff. This doesn't appear to be one of the clones. I think it's an original, but indications at the moment are this is the wrong damn programmer. Came with a PLCC removal tool. Anyhow, before I go off and go back through my Amazon listing, we'll take a look at the condition this arrived in. Came with a little clip lead here for on motherboard BIOS ROMs. A couple of the comments I saw on this said it didn't include this. It was $10 extra. The photograph showed that. It did come with it. There's a SOP56 adapter here. TSOP 324048 with the ZIF socket on it. SOP44 again with a ZIF socket on it. This arrived with all of these plugins really crammed into one side, and we'll take a look here at what I got. The soldering quality on these isn't great. This looks like a little 8-pin ZIF socket here. It's labeled SOP 8 and 16. Obviously a PLCC device, but it arrived with issues like this, and hopefully I can get this in the light. See this pin that's completely bent here? That is the condition it arrived in. With this stuff loose, it got crushed at some point. Not that that isn't repairable, but it didn't make me particularly happy. Same issue with this module, where these pins were bent during transit at some point. Again, not the end of the earth. You know, it wasn't super expensive. I paid $111 total, probably too much. with the assurance it was new, which I believe it is. But again, that's just disappointing, and it's just piss poor packaging. Get another little adapter module. The soldering is, Another one here with slightly bent pins, a little 8-pin adapter. This one's pretty severely bent up in shipping. Again, I can straighten that out if I have to. But again, kind of disappointed with that. This one as well in shipping, bent pin over here. Again, this saw rough shipping. The zip sockets all seem to have survived okay. Pins on this one are okay. Again, the soldering isn't great. The flux hasn't been cleaned off. Of course, what do you expect for cheap Chinese programmer? This looks very similar to it's a different package size. So the little 8-pin adapter, I believe to be a 16-pin adapter. You know, the little sockets seem to be decent quality. They all seem to work well. Pins on this one survived. So like I say, there's nothing here too horrific. Just some bent pins, another PLCC adapter. Not really sure. I think this is for picking up to an ISP, perhaps. For an ISP cable, most likely. We'll find out. It gets kind of down to whether I decide to return it or not. There is this board. Let me get this adapter on top off. Which honestly comes down to the reason I bought this. This is the TSOP48 adapter. I'm looking for an easy path to programming some ROMs for my Amigas and reading ROMs and that kind of stuff. And there were some adapter boards on eBay that were designed to use these 866 Programmer. I think you put you set it up for a 1 megabit device. You drop this guy in with his adapter board, and then you take a 4 megabit ROM and you program it in 4 passes for each one of the 4 meg blocks. I believe is what's going on here, and he's got some switches to control which address block is actually being addressed. You know, I think that's the approach that's being taken. There are a set of unassembled boards here. TSOP 40B, 40A, and TSOP 32. And supposedly enough pins in here. They look to be pre-cut. And they look to be, I think they're all probably pre-cut to be able to basically reproduce this in various configurations. The text tool socket here is labeled 3M. I'm not convinced it's not a clone. Looking at it, it's kind of rough. It just doesn't speak of the quality I would expect from a true 3M socket. Not that that's hugely an issue. Just the plastic moldings are somewhat rough. I believe there's gold plating on the pins inside. I get a hint of gold as I flex. Anyhow, I'm kind of with these bent pins. Problem is, if they ship me another one, it's going to come in the same loose packaging. It's not going to be in a box. It'll probably take the same kind of damage coming to me. Not particularly happy with that. Not particularly happy with the fact that this says TL866 on the bottom. I didn't pay for an A. A is obsolete. I know that the ad flat out said this was the TL66 or TL866 2 Plus. I know that's what I paid for. They may end up doing a return. Yeah, see, the box is really old. The programmer I bought is supposed to support 15,000 devices. You know, it's got a little bit of weight to it. You know, the little case is pretty solid. It's not creaking and moaning. Find the screwdriver I'm looking for. They're always lost in one of a million places on the bench. So not tight. He's very easy to back out. I mean, he was sufficiently tight to hold the case together. We will go ahead and take a look inside. There doesn't seem to be a tamper, decal any place around it. I think I'm ultimately going to have to load up the driver software and power this thing up and see if internally it actually is what I paid for. I'm assuming it'll self-identify to the software. But again, I don't know that. First impression generally is the build quality is not bad. A little bit of flux over here where they manually soldered the USB connector. They've of course ground the main device part number off. On the inside of the board here you can see the inductors and capacitors where the little switching power supplies are to generate the various programming voltages depending on the device. This does look like it'll come apart, maybe. Oh no, there's a solder link here. There's a ground, what I believe to be a ground solder link there. So I'm not going to take this apart any further at this point. Yeah, there's another one in here as well. So there are some tie points. That do seem to be going to copper pores that I'm going to assume are ground. Seeing XG 2014 design. Of course, that may be normal for the upper board. XG 2014 design. I'm pretty sure at this point this is an A. I believe I will be returning this thing. Don't even know if I'll post this video. You can hopefully see in the light here on the side of the text tool socket. That's liquid flux there. And I don't know if I can get this in camera or not. But if you look along the edge here, you can see the plastic is really rough down in the text tool socket, which does tend to make me think this is not a genuine socket. The plastic castings are just really rough on it. It's not the quality. I've got some 3-amp sockets here that are actually decent quality. Supposedly this can test continuity and leakage and various things on all 40 pins. I may be seeing sufficient electronics here to do that. I'm guessing a good chunk of this is the circuitry back here. 4, 8, 12, 17, 18, 19, 5, 10, 19, 20. I think I count 25 there. There's sufficient pins there to potentially be, well, it's going to drive every pin. It supposedly can drive every pin, look for leakage on every pin, etc., where the really cheap ones really can't do that. I mean, they can provide addressing and etc. on the majority of the required pins, but they're not as versatile. It's, of course, got an ISP header output. Yeah, can't say that I'm thrilled. If this was the right programmer, I think I'd be okay with it. The fact that it's not the right programmer, I'm not as okay. You've heard me harp on this in other videos. If you've watched, you may have saw what I did there. These are self-tapping screws. Put the screw in. I'm turning it backwards. There was a little click there when it fell down into the threads that were cut when the screw was originally put in. And so I'm not trying to cut new threads down in the plastic. I am actually turning into the threads that were cut before. Let's see if we can get this one to pop a little louder. Wasn't super loud. But again, I can feel the screwdriver will suddenly kind of drop down a little bit as the screw drops into those original threads. That was a good click. And of course I felt it. These don't need to be super tight. They are fine. That's disappointing. Yeah, I didn't even notice the fact that the labeling on it when I originally took it out to inspect it was incorrect. Of course, in the box is a USB cable and a cable for the ISP header here as well, which can be useful. Of course, I can't get that back out of there, and I hate pulling it by the wires, but because of the depth that went in, it was hard not to. Of course, comes with a mini CDR with the driver software. I did do a quick search on Google and immediately got to the website with the latest software. It was really easy to find, and I will just, download the latest software. Yeah, I don't have a drive that'll, deal with this one of the small CDs like that. I guess before I go much further, I should get down on the other computer, get the software downloaded and installed, and see what this thing reports being, and then either file my case with Amazon to return it, or if it reports as the right device, which I doubt, I really do doubt, debate whether to keep it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This may be a knockoff. I guess when I get down on the other machine, I'll bring up their website with the knockoff photos, because they identified the knockoff with having one less cooling slot here, and with the embossed power run, this printing being pretty weak and fuzzy, and this is actually nice and crisp and sharp, which is one of the ways they identified it. But it was also by the number of slots here, and I want to say there was 7 on an original and 6 on a knockoff. This may well be a knockoff. It's interesting on the back that the serial number is called zip code. Or maybe that's intentional. I think you can probably see here it's a TL866A, at least potentially. I guess there is a serial number up here and the barcode. I don't know. I guess, as you can tell, I'm kind of underwhelmed. So I'm looking to download the drivers for the TL866 Programmers. I did a Google search, and the Google search took me to this autoelectric.cn page. And on here, of course, you can download both the drivers for the 2 Plus and the drivers for the A and CS models. From there, I went ahead and downloaded them, and I opened up the PDF that comes along for the Plus model, And internally there was a URL to download the drivers. And so because that URL differs from the one I found in Google, I went off to that page and again found the same information. It looks identical really to the content over here, and downloaded the two from over here as well, and they are coming from different download sites. That led me then into the, have I got a pirate site here or something that's pushing malicious software down to me? A little bit concerned, and so I went ahead and downloaded both sets, and I've got them here in this TL866 folder. And there's the files I downloaded from Auto Electric and from the XGECU. And then I went ahead and diffed, after unpacking these RAR files into folders, I went ahead and diffed the installers. And then the files are identical, which is good. So I thought I'd go ahead and kind of follow along on the PDF instructions here and install this. And of course, 64-bit OS, you got to run it as administrator. There's no surprise there. As you can see, the instructions are in Chinese. Again, no surprise. It takes you through a bunch of steps here. And so I'm going to go ahead and basically run the steps that it calls out here, and we'll see what we get. So I'm going to go ahead and take the files. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm going to take them from the Auto Electric download. So I'm going to try the 2+ first. Needed to run it as administrator. We'll go ahead and let it run as administrator. And we'll see what we get here. Based on actually playing with this a little earlier, I suspect my AV software is going to kick in. And that's what's happened right here. The AV software's kicked in and said that's a malicious file and has kicked it out, which is a little sad. So let's go ahead and re-extract it. And I've now got the original file back in here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the executable and go ahead and do a scan with McAfee. And it is going to reject this file and block it. And I find this concerning, and there it is. It's blocked it. It's removed, whatever this item here is. The details don't tell us much. So McAfee's unhappy with this file. I've really found nothing online that says this is a potentially malicious file. I'm not sure. I'm debating whether I can trust it or not. Let's hop up to the ones we brought down from the other website. And again, these diffed identical. And I suspect on this one as well, if I scan it, we're going to see the exact same behavior. And exact same thing. It acted exactly the same way. So the question becomes, is this actually malicious? Or is it just the AV software is seeing something that's not real? And that's always a difficult call to make. Like I said, I did some additional research. I didn't find anything, people complaining this was, had a virus in it. Those kind of things. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just extract that one as well again. And I'm going to make a call here that may be a really poor decision. I'm going to go into my McAfee software to real-time scanning, and I'm going to turn it off at this point. And we'll do a full 60 minutes. And turn off, and I'm either going to install a virus here on my machine, which would be sad, or I'm not. And this is debatable whether you would want to do this or not, but I'm going to go ahead and do it for the sake of the video system here. So let's go ahead and run that as administrator. So run him as administrator. This does then get to the welcome to the installer, etc. Let's go ahead and lay the files down. The files are laid out. Software's been installed. We get the dialog saying, do you want to install the device driver? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. In this case, it looks like it's connected. I didn't get any warnings about signing or anything like that, so I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and finish that install, which we've just done. Let me now find the actual software we just installed. So XG Pro TL866 2 Plus, and I'll bring it up running. This is the first time I've ever ran it. I'm assuming at this point I can plug the programmer into the USB cable. The cable's prepared. And this will be the first connection. So power light. The run LED is blinking yellow. Device is ready. The run LED has stopped blinking. I've got a little message down here that you actually can't see. When I clicked it, we got that pop-up. So now does it believe we have a programmer connected? Select ICs, project, information on the device, hardware interface version, no device. I suspect this is because I have the A model. I'll disconnect the USB and reconnect. Run light is blinking. And it stopped blinking and no device. So let's go ahead and exit out, and I'll rerun this. Yeah, I saw it, talked to it. The yellow LED blinked on the programmer, and then it came back and said there's no device. So I think we've proven that mine really is the A model. We'll look a little bit later about what happened on Amazon and why I believe I'm going to return this in the end. So let's step back and go ahead and install the 685 software. I don't honestly know if they can coexist. There is an uninstall, it looks like here, which brings me just to the standard uninstall screen here, and you can see a ton of the stuff I have installed. Hopefully there's nothing malicious here. Installed on 12/1, which is today. That's interesting. There must have been an Office 365 update. And I'm not seeing their software in here to uninstall. That's interesting. Let me go ahead and look at where it installed to. It threw it on the D drive in this folder. Update. I don't see anything in here that appears to be an uninstall. Well, I think what I'm going to do here is rename this out of the way. Yeah, so we'll call this the 866.2, the version it is. Oh, what did I do it doesn't like? And let's go ahead and run the 685 setup. It's going to be, I believe, the same process. So this is going to go to Mini Pro on the D drive, so I didn't need to do that rename. Install USB. If you've installed this device driver, please click Ignore button before the installment. Please remove the USB device. It's disconnected. I'm going to go ahead and ignore because we installed that driver before. And I did see the other version try to talk. And I've now got a Mini Pro Programmer entry. So we'll go ahead and run that. And there's the interface for the older version. Go ahead and plug in the USB device or the programmer. Yellow LEDs blinking away. If we didn't see a device, I'll rerun it. Wonderful. So let's go ahead and pull out that device driver and go ahead and install the one that it came with. So let me get the device manager. I do see the programmer here. We have got a warning. I'm going to go ahead and disable the device. I've got it plugged in so it actually shows up in the list here. And then I'm going to uninstall the driver, and hopefully that will remove that driver. I'm going to unplug the programmer. I'm going to exit out here, and I'm going to, I guess in this case, let's go to the D drive and see if there's a standalone installer for the USB. File Explorer, back to the D drive. This went into Mini Pro. USB driver install, uninstall. There's actually an uninstall in this package that I didn't see, and then one we renamed out of the way. There's really not an uninstall there, which disappoints me. So let's go into the, I guess let's just do the Mini Pro and go ahead and run the USB driver directly, installer, and let's go ahead and install it. Now it's asking me about do I want to install this. This makes me believe the driver is unsigned. I'm going to go ahead and trust it, but I'm not going to tell it to always trust. It says it's ready to use. Let me plug back in the programmer. We'll tell it we believe it installed correctly. I didn't see it pop up here. And at this point, I may have made quite the mess here on the machine. Yeah, it's not. It should not be showing up as a system device. Well, I'm going to go ahead and run the programmer software just to see what we get. Please, okay, it must have just talked to it, because we're getting a please reflash firmware. I didn't actually read that close enough to see where that was. Device. Let me go out and exit and rerun it and actually pay attention. Main menu, tools, reflash firmware. Main menu, tools, don't reflash firmware. Yeah, guarantee power. Click reflash to upgrade. And we heard the USB drop and come back. Kind of guess at this point that I am pretty much committed. I've actually changed invalid product serial number. It may be pirated product. I was afraid of that. They talked about this on their website, that this may be a pirated product. Didn't seem to be, based on what I saw on the inside, or the pirators have gotten better. Sure, well, as you can see, this is quite the mess. Yeah, I'm not really happy with this. Just say it's connected. You know, I'm thinking I'm going to abort here and just not go any further with this. Get the drivers uninstalled, get the software uninstalled. I'm debating here in my head. Apologies for not talking. Really don't like this. Select ICs. I'm assuming I can go in here and look for various devices. Pretty standard for these universal programs, microchip memory devices. I've got a number of these. Some of them are very old, but they do support, much older devices. Like I don't see National in here at all for their old EPROMs. Oki, it's largish EPROMs. Yep. Again, largest devices, WinBond. Others. See if we can go back to something like a 27C256, and we can. So there's an AMD 27C256, really old school EPROMs, about 64K. We've got 2764s. I don't see a 27C32. Got a 2732. Actually, we get back to a 2732B from AMD. Let's go back to a 2716. It actually does, again, from various manufacturers. This probably actually is the National device here. Yeah, this has got pretty good support, at least for the kind of EPROMs I deal with. Still, I'm just not happy it's calling it pirated. I don't know. I think I'm going to wrap this segment up here. Give this some more thought. Decide where to go next. I think the first thing I'm going to actually do is start by looking at Amazon and the device that I purchased. And actually, let me see if I feel like I can do this safely here on camera. Why can't I get Chrome to start? Okay, now my machine's not acting correctly. I may have made a really poor decision here. Go ahead and disconnect the programmer. I'm going to go ahead while I'm here and turn real-time scanning back on. Probably should have done that earlier. Oh, I hope I haven't contaminated my machine. And I'm going to go ahead and run a full scan here in the background just to let it do its thing. No idea why Chrome won't open. Well, I guess let me stop recording here and see if I can figure this out. So I'm on Amazon looking at my purchase history, and we can see the device here I ordered a few days ago. The Signtech Original TL866 2 Plus Universal Mini Programmer. And keep in mind that is TL866 2 Plus. Because if I click through this link here, I end up on this TL866 CS Mini Programmer, the older version. And it tells me I purchased this order on November 26th. And I've worked my way through. And there's this immediate inconsistency in Amazon here that I don't fully understand. So, I didn't get the device I ordered. I'm unhappy with how the software installs. I guess I need to look at a couple of my other programmers to see if I can actually use them for what I have in mind here. I don't think they cover the device I need. Maybe they do. I'm looking for these larger flash devices here, but this is an old programmer that covers it, so maybe I just missed it in my software. I guess buyer beware. I should have paid more attention as I clicked through and paid for stuff, because at some point this, which they said they delivered this. Actually, it delivered the version A, which is, I think, the newer one than the CS version. And the software is reporting it's potentially a pirated device. So I think these things said confirms this, especially when I paid about $120 with delivery for it. Well, if you go down the TL866 road, I hope you have a better luck than I did. If I decide to buy again, I may look for the authorized dealers off the manufacturer's website and go from there. Not really sure what I'm going to do, but not happy with this. Anyhow, I think that wraps us up, and we'll talk soon.